Salutations everybody, it is Matty here, and today I'm going on my I dropped it. Whee! No cracks. Today I'm going to be one of those YouTubers who stares at their phone the entire video. Very thrilling, I am aware. I tried my best. I put out a tweet asking for questions, hot takes about Fallout 76, and pretty much I'm going to go through as many as I can. We got over 70 submissions and respond to them. Think of, for those of you who are longtime viewers, shit people say about Fallout 4. And why not begin with my new friend, Dreamcast Guy. Do you think the fan community will be even more active than it was around the launch of Fallout 4 since Fallout 76 is so focused on multiplayer? Really hot take to start this off with, I think that Fallout 76 is actually going to be more popular than Fallout 4. I think it's going to sell better. I think it'll have a better lifetime. I think it'll do better in the long tail. I think it'll do better with a player base, just because Fallout 4 really brought Fallout into the mainstream. Whether you liked it or hated it, it made it an incredibly popular franchise. Many people's first exposure to this series was Fallout 4, so for them, going to multiplayer was the next logical step. It's a big evolution for them. And also the Fallout 76 reveal trailer has more views already than the Fallout 4 trailer. And the Fallout 4 trailer has been up for years, and I thought there was going to be no hype that surpassed Fallout 4, but it seems there is a keen amount of interest for 76. What is the perfect Fallout 76 for you? Oh boy. For me, the ideal Fallout game, I've actually made a video solely dedicated to this, but to really summarize it, I view it as a hybrid of all the strengths of every single Fallout game, because as far as I'm concerned, every Fallout game has their pros, their cons, and if you were able to take, for example, the story of 1, the choices of 2, the characters of New Vegas, the world and atmosphere of 3, and the shooting from 4, mix them together, I think you'd have what I think is like one of the best Fallout games. That's just me though. Is it really 4 times bigger than Fallout 4? By looking into the leaked map, it doesn't feel like that. I mean, the map is very big. 4 times bigger, I am unsure of, because that can mean a lot of things. It can mean 4 times as dense in a way where there is more locations to discover. It also can account for height mapping, where this area could be totally leveled out, so there's more space in the world itself, so therefore it looks bigger. But now that I think of it, I remember seeing a lot of mountainous regions in the trailer, so it could just be a height thing too. There's stuff in the mountains, there's also stuff below the mountains, there's stuff in the fields. Like I said, it could be a density thing where not just the map is north, south, east, west bigger. It could also be height mapping as well. But overall, I mean, the map looks huge, and I think it needs to be very sizable, considering the fact that this is most likely going to be very akin to a Division, Destiny, Warframe experience, where you go to a location, you wipe out the enemies, and you move on with your merry self. For now, a quick anime bite. Promise me that when we cross each other's tracks in the West Virginia wasteland, you'll say salutations. Very well, Scott. I have made a promise and I will keep it. Do you think Creation Club will play a large role in 76? Aside from cosmetics, do you think weapons will be included too? Now, I'm pretty sure Bethesda already confirmed that it's just going to be cosmetics in the microtransaction section, and I do think that Creation Club's going to tie into it. I think it's going to be very fundamental to that part of Fallout 76. If you want a comparison, I think kind of the battle pass and the cosmetics offered within Fortnite, although I've never really purchased one myself. That idea of your player just looking cooler, but statistically you're not better than the other player, I think that's more the route they'll take, because a lot of people are just sold on, hey, this looks fucking awesome, I'm going to buy it. It can be a lot like in Elder Scrolls Online, where you can equip costumes over your base gear, or if you want another comparison, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, where you can equip a QQ beam, which assigns you certain stats, and then you can wear whatever clothing you want. Do you think there will be DLC that could bring us to other parts of America, and we could see pre-war buildings before they became Raider and Super Mutant Outposts? So I'm mainly going to focus on the first part of your question here, as for the DLC aspect, because that's been something I've pondered on quite a bit with this game, is how the DLC structure will work. Is it going to be new missions inside the base game area? Is it going to be like standard DLC in a Fallout game where you pay like $20, you go to a new location, there's a lot to explore? How big do those locations have to be now that we have to accommodate for multiplayer and the new gameplay style that comes with Fallout 76? Like I said, with this game, there's so many question marks, and furthermore, if this game doesn't work at launch, which there's a good chance because it's Bethesda Game Studios' first online game, then the roadmap that they had planned for after launch gets pushed back because they're too busy fixing the game that is currently not working. Think of Star Wars Battlefront 2, where we have a game that had a roadmap for DLC that got severely pushed back because of a big microtransaction issue. Same thing can apply with bugs and stomping those out too. It's almost as if they should have a earlier public beta. Do you think this game will be more roleplay oriented than any other Fallout game because of the lack of NPCs and proper quests, as well as the addition of the ability to build anywhere you please? I don't think building plays into role-playing whatsoever. I think the role-playing aspect is really going to be fueled by how players interact. It's just more so like 6 months after launch, I'm really scared to see how this game ends up. I don't imagine we're going to see players running around being traitors, because a lot of players in that point of the game cycle will be geared up. It's about how many people are hopping in after the fact. How will they acquire gear? Is there going to be a better way to acquire gear? Because that's the only reason a trader would exist. And in terms of role playing though, yes, I've said this in a separate video. I feel like Fallout 76 can actually, in a way, bring back role playing to the Fallout franchise because players get to pick, am I going to mind my own business? Am I going to travel in a group? What weapons will I specialize in? On top of that, will I be a trader? Will I be a merchant? Will I just build? There are options, and I do find that very interesting, and I'm curious when I dive into the full game how exactly that'll all play out. Like I said, it's really all in the player base's hands in many ways. Of course, the systems have to work, the systems have to be intriguing. That's up to the developer, but also the player base has to buy into and find good reason to say, I'm gonna be a roving merchant in Fallout 76 because why not? How long of a lifespan do you think Fallout 76 has, and how long do you think the player base will stick around? For how long it's going to stick around, I think it's based off how much Bethesda wants to pop out content. If they get content out every month, they're good. They're going to have a player base, and it's always going to be there, even if there's issues with the games, because there are people who will see past those issues and enjoy the new content they're bringing in. But if there's huge problems at launch and then they have to push back those pieces of content until 3 months after launch, I think a lot of gamers are going to move on. I don't want to say it'll die off because Fallout's very popular. I think there'll always be a player base there wanting to play it because, for example, with modding, Fallout will still remain something popular, especially on the private servers when they're launched. The years of free DLC, I think for players, especially myself, who are not super keen on Fallout 76 but are definitely interested, I think it'll keep our interest enough to have us keep popping in and out. It's about what Bethesda continuously offers to keep us playing endlessly. Because I mean, they've talked about Battle Royale, they've talked about Team Deathmatch, they're talking about raids. I'm just thinking to myself, what is this game even going to be? And is all this going to be added at some point in time? I feel a lot of the framework for post-launch content is going to be kind of like GTA Online. Let's just see what we can put into this crazy game. Maybe an anime gulp for good measure here. How many mega sloths does it take to change a light bulb? 7, duh. Last but not least, don't you think Bethesda Game Studios is making a game that focuses precisely on those aspects that were most criticized in Fallout 4? Base building, grinding, etc. The same way they focused Fallout 4 in the worst aspects of Skyrim, in my opinion, forgetting what made Fallout 3 so great. Very well thought out question that I wanted to wrap this up on. This is the biggest issue with the Fallout franchise, is because it got popular so fast. And I think there's a big confusion in the player base. Not that this guy's wrong, but we have a series that was originally just hardcore gamers, hardcore fans, that has been introduced to the mainstream with those mechanics that a lot of the mainstream has fallen in love with. They love base building. They love returning to areas, collecting loot in those chests at the end of dungeons. That's cool to them. They enjoy that. And there are much more of those people than there are of us who are like, give us the deep story, the enriching lore, the rare weapons and armor. Scratch the base building. Give us choice and consequence instead. Spend your resources there. As someone who loves this franchise to death, it does look very foolish for them to say, yes, we did the dialogue wrong in Fallout 4. You think easily in the next Fallout game you're going to see a revamped dialogue system, and instead it's gone completely. It's actually fascinating. That's why I'm so intrigued with this game, is because I'm a fan, but on top of that, I'm just wondering how this is all going to play out, because there are so many what ifs, and if it turns out to be an awesome game, that'll be cool, but if it turns out to be a dumpster fire, that's also going to be interesting to watch. But yeah, in answer to your question, the main reason I think they're focusing on it is because there is a larger player base that fans are getting accustomed to that really appreciates those new things added to Fallout 4 that most of us who have gotten to love Fallout 1, 2, 3, New Vegas, for all these different reasons, most of them being those hardcore role-playing elements, we're a very small group. Anyway, thank you guys so much for all your submissions, your questions, your hot takes. I hope you enjoyed this Fallout 76 style Q&A. If you want me to do more of these, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, because on Twitter, that's where I got these questions from. So if you want to be in these videos, man, that's where you gotta be, okay? So I'll catch you guys later. Be sure to support my Patreon, as it does continue to fuel all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.